All right, welcome back to season 6 of our show, and today it's trout, and we're smoking it up northern style. Let's show you how to get this one done. So it's trout, and we are hot smoking this today. Now, a lot of people don't do it in this manner. In your colder states, they get the opportunity to work with a lot of cold water fish. I live in the South Georgia, and we don't get the opportunity to work with a lot of cold water fish. So when we do, we usually cook them with a lot of high heat, and we don't brine them and smoke them at very low temperatures to get this texture of the skin nice and leathery and the meat nice and soft and flaky underneath. And that's what we're doing today. So we're gonna bring in a bucket. I got 1 cup of salt. I'm gonna go right in with that. It's a 1-to-1 mixture. Gallon of water. So 1 cup of salt to 1 gallon of water. I got some sugar here. I'm gonna add a little sugar in. It's about 1/4 cup of sugar, a bay leaf, coriander seed, black pepper, and thyme. And just keep filling. The reason why you're brining the fish is that you want to change the texture of the fish. Now normally if you put a fish on any kind of grill or smoker, it's just going to cook straight through. But we're cooking at a very low temperature today, and we want to make sure the fish doesn't go bad. So we're going to add the salt in and the mixture and all the flavor. All right, there we go. Now we're going to get our fish in. Right into that mixture, just like that. I'm going to get my tail in, and I'm going to get my other fish in as well too. And you want to submerge it completely in the brine. Just like that. Now this is going to go for about 3 days in this brine. That's right, 3 days. Now you can do several different brines. You can just put this in salt if you want, and you would just go for about 2 hours with it. That's what I call a hard brine. And that's going to get the job done. The fish is going to change its texture, and you'll be ready to go on the cooker with it, but it's not going to put all this nice flavor in here from all these nice things we put in here. So I like a nice easy brine on here, and I like the fish just to go for a couple of days in here. And you just park this right back in your fridge, and you'll put the lid on it like this. And that's it. So we're gonna get cleaned up. I'm gonna park this in the fridge, and then we're gonna meet you right back here, so stick around, don't go anywhere. All right, 2 days has elapsed, and now the fish needs to come out of the brine. Now there's a couple of ways that you can do this, so let's take a look at this. So here we are, and our fish is looking right. So I'm just gonna take this out. Just like this. Now normally you could drain this, pat it dry, and you can put a fan on it and you can dry the fish out. And when you dry the fish out, the skin's gonna get tacky. On the outside, it's almost gonna feel sticky. And when it gets sticky on the outside, you'll smoke it with cold smoke. And you'll smoke that for 2 days, and that's gonna let the fish not cook, and it's gonna let it absorb a bunch of cold smoke. And then you're gonna jack up the heat and start to cook it. But today we're just hot smoking, so we're going straight through. We're gonna skip that cold smoke step, and we're gonna go straight through. And the reason why is because I'm gonna hit this with a lot of smoke. I mean a lot of smoke. Smoke like most people have never seen hit food before. And we're gonna really get the smoke into this fish, and that's the way I do mine, just so I can skip that stage. So I'm gonna get this dried off, just like this. I'm just gonna pat it dry. And when I do get this dried off, I got some toothpicks. So I'm gonna take a couple of these toothpicks just to open up the cavity of the fish. So here we go. Now, let's say your fish is dry, just put them in like this. And what this will do is keep the cavity of the fish opened up. So you'll put them in like that. Just like this. And what that does is allow air to go into the fish. And that's how we're gonna lay these on the smoker. So I'm gonna get them dried up, and then we're gonna meet you out on the cooker and put these in. Meet you right back here, stick around, don't go anywhere. All right, hot smoker's going. It's time to put this fish on. But first I want to show you something. This tank right here that we're using, I can put my hands on this. 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000, 5 1000. I can't hold my hand here anymore. I keep my hands here for 5 seconds. There's no thermometers or temperature gauges on here. This is just 100% pure instinct and years of doing this. So I've got my hand here, 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000, 5 1000. I have to bring my hand away. Let's take a look at the inside. All right. I want you to see something. Look at this smoky fire I have down here. So this is probably one of the blackest, dirtiest fires you're ever gonna see. If you put anything else on here, it's just gonna burn up as far as soot, black smoke, and this is the way I hot smoke my fish. So I'm going at about 250 degrees on this cooker. I'm gonna let this go through until it's done, until I see some nice white coming out of the flesh in this fish. But this is a nice smoky fire, that's the way you want it. And when we close this up, it's gonna get even smokier. So here's our fish. See how I have those pins in there? So let's get them on. I'm gonna take my fish and just put it on just like that. See that? The toothpicks stay inside. There we go. The tails don't matter, I can hang those over, and that's it. Nice smoky fire, and we're gonna see this back here in probably about 45 minutes to an hour, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. Okay, we're about 15 minutes in, and here we go. 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000. I gotta pull my hand away, it's too hot. So I'm gonna close my damper in the back and let this calm down. But I'm gonna show you what's inside of this. I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm gonna show you what's inside of this. All right, so here's our fish, 15 minutes in. The reason why I didn't want to open that, because I'm gonna have to reset my fire, recalibrate my fire. But I just want to show you where that fish is coming along just 15 minutes in. Now I got a little diffuser here. It's just aluminum foil with a grate on top, just to keep my smoke from hitting that fish and banging up against that fish too hard. But that's about it. We're coming along nicely. We'll meet you back here. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right, we got a 5,000 count. Time to open up. All right, look at those guys. They're looking right. So now what we'll do in this nice smoky fire, I'm just gonna move them just like that. This way they're not sitting in the same spot. I'm gonna move them a little closer out, and look at that fire. And you can see them starting to turn gold. So they're looking right. All right, I'm gonna close up, finish cooking. Meet you back here. Don't go anywhere. All right, time to pull these. Let's show you what we got. Ooh, look at that. Beautiful. All right, we're gonna pull this, and then we're gonna meet you inside, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right, our fish is off the cooker. Now that fish is off the cooker, the best thing you want to do is just let that fish chill out for about 45 minutes. When you serve it at room temperature, it just lets the entire fish come back together again, as you'll see when we take it out and serve it. All right, along with that fish, we're making some beautiful baked beans and grits. Let's show you how to get this done. So for this dish, we're going with some pinto beans today. So I've got some pinto beans here. Now I cook these in advance. 3 days in advance if I know I have guests coming over and it's just a really fast go-to, or even during the week you can change it up and put different things in here. So with these pinto beans, we're going with some Dijon mustard. I got some cumin, red chili pepper for that little bite, barbecue sauce, one of your choice. We've got some bacon there that's salted. We got some green peppers, yellow onion, purple onion, and some grits. So how I chop this up, just like this. Very simple cut. And I like to mix the onion, so I'm gonna go with some red. And make it yours. All these flavors, make them yours. And I go pretty big on the onion. So I don't pulverize them down to nothing, but I go pretty big on the onion. Maybe like that. And just feel it out and make the entire dish yours. I feel different sizes in the vegetables, they give some character to the dish. And a lot of people, they come over your house, they'll kind of know your food because they'll know how you cut your vegetables. Just change things up a little bit, bring some liveliness and some character into the game, and I think people will love you for it. So here's our pepper. Just like that. I'm gonna look around. I want a little smaller, but I'm gonna leave that pepper pretty big there and just get them in. All right, I think I'm gonna go one more, and then I'm gonna cut up this bacon, and then we're gonna meet you right back here onto the stove, so stick around, don't go anywhere. All right, we have everything cut up. We're just about to go onto the stove with our baked beans. Just so there's no confusion, let's show you what we're working with. So we've got our bacon, we've got our pinto beans, barbecue sauce, cumin powder, red chili flake, and here is all of our vegetables cut up, our onions and our peppers. And choice of oil we're rolling with today is our extra virgin olive oil. That's just gonna start this bacon off. And almost forgot our Dijon mustard. All right, onto the stove we go. All right, so we rendered down, or started rendering down some of our bacon here. It's not rendered down all the way, but there it is. Now at this point, you can take out some of the fat that's in there. If you guys are fat friendly, leave it in there, but if you're not, you can take out some of that fat that's in there, not in the bacon, but the oily fat that's in there. But I leave it in because I think it works out well for the vegetables. All right, so I'm gonna get these in, all of them. And we're gonna cook these down. These are gonna take about 10 minutes to cook down on medium heat. And we want these soft because our beans are soft, and you don't want to start biting into beans and these are hard, the beans are soft. Doesn't work. The textures just are gonna clash and you're not gonna like that. All right, so we're gonna meet you guys right back here, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right, so here's where we're at, about 10 minutes in, and everything is cooking down soft. Now you don't want this to fry up because the fat is starting to take hold of those onions. And look at the bottom of my pan, right? Who wants to clean that? So here's some white wine. I'm going right in off the back of the spoon. And let's deglaze that pan. So here we go. Let's get up everything on the bottom of that pan. Bring some flavor and clean that pan at the same time. So if you keep a little wine around, not only will you bring up some flavor, but you will never have to scrub the bottom of your pans, especially on aluminum, guys. So if you're cooking with aluminum pots, now I'm gonna move it from the heat like that, and I'm gonna let the rest of the pan do the work. So you watch. Scrub that out, and there it is. And now the pan is nice and clean. See, everything will just come up now. I'll put it back on the heat, and the rest of that will get itself out of there. All right, so now that we got that, take our beans and go in. There we go. And I'm gonna turn this down to a simmer at this point. And just stir these guys around. Look at that, beautiful, right? And now since they're almost done, chili flake. Good amount of that. Cumin powder. I'm holding back because I'm gonna taste at the end. And then we got our barbecue sauce. So let's go in with that. Then we're gonna stir this up. Just like that, on low. and let all these flavors come together. I didn't forget my mustard. I'm going to put that in just a second. But there you have it. Look at that. Coming together quite nicely. So I'm going to let this stay on simmer. Put the lid on here. I'm going to add a drop of mustard. There we go. Just like that. As much or as little as you guys want. That's Dijon. And then I'm just going to stir that in. Just a touch. And look at that. Barbecue baked beans coming together before your very eyes. Alright, so we're going to let this cook down. And then we're going to meet you guys right back here, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. Alright, let's take a look at our beans. Look at those guys. So I lowered the heat, and I'm just going to give these a last minute taste, but they're done. Look at that. Everything in there looks gorgeous. Perfect. Alright. We're going to meet you right back here. Show you some bread. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. Alright, we got our fish done. Our beans are coming about. Now we're showing you a beautiful cheesy bread to go along with this entire meal. Let's show you how to get this done. Alright, so what you're going to need for this dish is 2.5 cups of flour. I got 2.5 cups of flour here. 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Paprika. I'm using a very good Hungarian paprika. Right in with it. The amounts are yours. Please make them yours as far as the paprika goes. So we're just going to give that a stir. That's going to bring out some gorgeous color. Now this is a hot water bread. We make several hot water breads. This one happens to be one of them. And I've been meaning to show you guys this one. So just get this one stirred up. And you can see the color, it almost changes like a pink. Now here's our cheese, sharp cheddar. This is how you want to slice this. So I'm going to go down like this. And then I'm going to take my knife and just make wedges like this. Now I could get out the grater and grate this up, but it's not going to be the same. You want these pieces to fall apart nice and easy. And you want nice cheesy bread. So that's the way you want it. Just like that. And when I finish cutting this up, I'm going to meet you right back here and we'll put this bread together and get it fried up. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. Alright, so our cheese is cut up and now it's time to make our dough. So this is a hot water bread. And we're going to drop this in the pan hot, and your hand should never have to touch this. So the first thing you're going to do is go in with some hot water. And this is pretty hot out of the sink. My sink is pretty hot. You will need to put this on the stove, and if your water doesn't get too hot in your house, you might need to put that on your stove. But it should be hot enough where it doesn't scald you. I have no specific ratio for this, so I'm just going to go in like this and just feel it out. And I think I'm pretty much spot on. I won't have to go in with that much water. Maybe a little bit more. See this? Your hand should never have to touch the dough. That's the beauty of this bread. Alright, so I feel I'm almost there. Now I'm going to get my cheese in. So here's our cheese. We're just going to get that in. Just like that. Now I'm going to give it another mix. Get that cheese well into that bread. And now that's looking right. That's how you want that. I'm spot on first time around. Didn't have to put a drop more water. Alright, and there we have it. Now, a good way to test this out, to see if you're ready, you're going to take a spoon, go like that, it drops. There you go. And now we have the perfect drop bread. Alright, onto the stove we go. We're going to cook this at 375 degrees, and then we'll meet you over there, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. Alright, time to get these dropped in. Usually I use 2 spoons and go like that. And I'm starting these off on pretty low heat. And I'm not making them too big because I want that cheese to melt. There we go. And just fill the pan up. Alright, I'm going to get these cooked up, and before we take out the batch, I'll meet you right back here and show you what we got. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. Alright, so it's time to pull these. Look at these guys. They're looking right. So let's just drain one over the other. And onto the wire rack they go. You know, you could smell these now. They almost smell like popcorn cooking. That cheese and oil. It almost smells like I got popcorn brewing on the stove over here. Popping on the stove. A corn kettle. Which another thing you guys can do too, if you want to put some corn in here, you can. And just fry it up in here with the cheese. It's another thing that I do. I haven't done it in a while, but you might see that soon. Alright, we're going to get these out of here. I think this is all we need for this evening. And then we're going to meet you right back here, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. Alright, we got the fish done. The beans are done. The cheesy bread is done. Last stop on this train, the grits. Let's show you how to get it done. Alright, it's grits. And what are grits? They're corn. Dent corn. That's what that is. Unlike yellow corn that's used for cornmeal, polenta, things like that, the grits get their name from the texture. They're gritty, so they call them grits. And they grow in a field. Years ago, this corn used to grow and people would pick this corn, just like they would cotton. And we got the term grits from it because it's a very gritty grain type of corn. So what I like to do to make these is I'll boil some water. Now look at the water level in here. It's about a quarter way, halfway up the pot. Drop a stick of butter in it. Now I don't think there's one person in my family that makes grits the same exact way. Everybody makes their own grits different. I'm going with coarse pepper. Some people use a fine pepper, but I don't like the way it permeates the grit. I feel it takes over the grit, so I'm using some peppercorn. I like pepper in the grit. Some people don't put them in there. I'm going to salt my water early. So I like a lot of salt in the grits. Now that butter has no salt in it, so I'm going to go about there with it. So that's how much salt we're putting in today in the grits. Now I'm going to judge it out. That little bit of water, basically that's where you want your grits to be. That's the level of your grits, maybe a little bit lower. So if your grits were up to the top, you can drop back just maybe a little bit, maybe about that much, about 2 inches from the top, and that's where your water's going to lie, and that's where your grit line is going to lie. So basically, if you're cooking it up to the top, about that far from the top, that's what you're going to end up with. So if you fill this up to water up to here and you fill up some grits, it's going to make a whole bunch of grits for you, and grits are very dense, and you don't need a lot of the grits, just a little bit, and they're made to fill you up. So back in the days, these were a cheapie, and a lot of people had grits back in the days just to stretch a meal. But today, we're having them with fish. All right, onto the stove we go. All right, so we got the water, butter, and salt rolling. And you can look at that roll on that it's got there. It's got a nice little roll to it. Here's our grits. So I'm gonna start off with some grits and I'm gonna stir as I put them in. You guys right now are asking me how much you're putting in. I don't really know. So I'm gonna put about that much. And I'm going to give them time to kind of set in. These take about 20 minutes to cook. So I'm going to go about there with them. And I'm just going to kind of stir and feel for thickness, because these will tighten up on you before you know it. You've got too many grits inside. So that's how loose you want it. I'm going to go a little bit more. About there. And then I'm going to stop because I feel a little resistance onto the spoon. And I'm going to keep stirring. 20 minutes it's going to take for these to come about. Almost like polenta. You're pretty much locked in at this point. It's going to take you 20 minutes to cook this, and we'll meet you back here when we're done, and we're going to plate up, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. Alright, so we're about 15 minutes in, and look at that. She's coming about. I'm going to let this go for about another 3 more minutes. Now, once you drop this off the heat and you put it off to the side, it's going to stiffen up on you. So you always want to keep it loose like this because it's going to stiffen up on you when you drop it off the heat. You basically have about 5 minutes to work with it after you drop it off the heat and serve it. So if you put it on the plate like this, just like this, some people eat them like this. I like them a little bit more firmer, but by the time I drop the heat, which I'm going to do now, and pull them back off the eye, they'll firm up on their own. And there you have it. And keep stirring, whatever you do, don't stop stirring. All right, we'll meet you to plate up, so stick around, don't go anywhere. All right, here we are, season 6's chopping block. Smoked fish, pork and beans, grits, and cheesy bread. Let's show you what we got. Look at that. Those guys are looking right. I'm just going to show you this. If you look at this fish, the skin on here, it's like rubber. That's what that brine does to that fish. And it turns it a beautiful gold color. So what we're going to do is just get this off to the side. But we're going to get into that fish, and first we're going to show you what we got going on here. So here's our cheesy bread. Look at those beans. Gorgeous. And here's our grits. So that's the consistency that you want right there. All right, let's bring in a plate and plate up. Now what I like to do is I'm going to take my fish and just start to peel back the skin on here. If you have this cold the next day, it's incredible. So you can have this with cheese and crackers, but tonight we're just having it with our grits. And I often have this for breakfast. I'm going to get in here and show you how to open this. So right down the middle, just like that. I'm going to push it away from the bone. So let's just go up this way. And I'm just going to get some of this onto the plate. Like any fish that has bones in it, you always have to watch for bones. So I'll get some of that nice white meat right there onto the plate. Go with this side. Just go this way with it. Just rake it back off the bone. Now I'm going to get my hands in here. Just get a piece out. So I'll put a piece there. Just organize this. And there we have it. All right, let's get some grits onto that plate. Very simple plate. It's old-fashioned. There we go. Some nice grits. And then we're going to get some of that nice cheesy bread onto the plate. And we'll garnish a little parsley right in the middle. Very simplistic. And there it is. All right, let's try these beans. So let's bring in a bowl. There we go. I'm going to clean this bowl up like usual. And there we have it. And then we'll just put a little garnish on the outside of our beans. There it is. Now I'm going to spin this around so you guys can see what I'm looking at. There it is. All right, let's get into it. I'm going to give that fish a try. If you ever had smoked whitefish or smoked whiting, that's the same thing. It's neck and neck with a smoked whitefish, pure delicacy. That smoke that we have on there is the right amount of smoke. It's not overly smoky. The brine in there, fantastic. You can taste all the spices in there. Fantastic fish. All right, let's try those grits. All right, so we're gonna get some grits, and usually grits in the South go with the fish. That's the way to eat the grits and the fish together. I mean, every bite should be fish and grits. If you eat the fish by itself, it's excellent, but it's lacking. Those grits, you eat them by themselves, they're a little on the boring side. But when you put them both together, wow, it's a banging combination. Fabulous. All right, let's try those beans. Get a nice spoonful with some bacon. The bacon and the peppers, onions, star of that show, by far. Excellent combination. We packed a lot of flavor in that dish fast. That's why you want to do the beans ahead of time. If you're looking for a fast dish that you can knock out in 30 minutes, that is the way to go. All right, let's try that bread. I'll just break this open so you guys can see the inside of this, because I know you're excited to see that. But look at the cheese in there. Let's get a nice bite of this. You know when you have an excellent grilled cheese sandwich, you're down to the last bite and the bread is nice and crispy at the ends and the cheese is still there? That's exactly what that tastes like. It tastes like a grilled cheese sandwich, the very ends of it around the nice crusty bread, dark and crunchy, which just happens to be one of the best parts of the grilled cheese sandwich, I feel. All right, we're gonna go organize and we're gonna meet you guys right back here, so stick around, don't go anywhere. All right, and there it is. One outrageously smoked trout. And that was hot smoked. Brine for 2 days. Hope you guys like that one, hope you guys try it. We threw it out with some grits and cheesy bread. And a nice old-fashioned pork and beans. Made from scratch. You are not going to lose with this one. This meal packs a punch in a very short time. As always, we thank you guys for coming. Until the next time, gotta get that last Pitmaster cheesy bread.